As a top contributor to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, that means American dollars will be part of the Greek rescue package. Some House Republicans are pushing to stop American involvement. Joining us now from Capitol Hill, the lawmaker leading the charge, Representative Cathy McMorris Rodgers from Washington and Vice Chair of the House Republican Conference. Appreciate your being with us, Congresswoman, and let me just ask you to lay out the numbers here. In terms of the IMF, it is an international monetary fund. Many countries pay into it. We are the largest shareholder as the most powerful country in the world, and we contribute 17%. So that would mean we're contributing how much money to the Greek package?
Well, I'd have to calculate that, but it is a significant portion of the rescue package is currently proposed. We're asking American taxpayer dollars to help pay for Greece policies that have resulted in spending that's unsustainable. And at a time when America has one of the toughest economic crises of our own, and we have people out of work and we're facing huge deficits, it's not the right time to ask Americans to be bailing out European countries. And
certainly you can see a lot of people would sympathize with that. I think from the numbers we have, it's somewhere around $39 billion in terms of our contribution to the $100+ billion bailout package. If we pulled out, though, aren't you essentially doing what we did prior to World War I or prior to World War II, when countries just stop keeping their promises to other countries and everything falls apart?
Well, the European Union was actually put together. It was an agreement that was made among those European countries to actually be a competitor to the United States, an economic competitor to the United States. And now we're being asked to help bail out our economic competitor. And it's not going to just stop with Greece. One of my biggest concerns is the moral hazard that it creates, that we will also be helping out Spain and Italy and Portugal. And who knows how much this bill will actually be in the end. And these are countries, Greece, for example, is very generous in its spending, in its benefits, in its pensions. The average public employee...
Yeah, well, they're cutting back now. They're cutting back on that. So it's kind of misleading to say American taxpayer dollars are going to go to pay these benefits for Greece. Greece is cutting back on those benefits as a result of this crisis.
Well, they're protesting. We've asked them as part of this deal to cut back on some of the spending, but they have not had the political will within that country to make the difficult decisions that are having to be made all around the world. Right here in America, we have states, California, New Jersey, New York, that have had very difficult decisions that they had to make in order to balance their budgets, and Greece needs to do likewise.
First of all, you seem offended by helping an economic competitor. You do understand that our well-being depends on the well-being of markets around the world. We need customers for our goods.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we need Europe to be prosperous. That was the point of the Marshall Plan more than 50 years ago.
Right.
Okay. So why is that a problem with you to help a competitor?
Well, I believe that Europe needs to take care of its own issues right now. And we're going to be asked, Timothy Geithner has already asked for American taxpayers to put more money into the IMF. And that is our contribution is going to be increased. And I think it's very important that these countries are making some of their own difficult decisions before we just start bailing them out.
Well, the IMF, now let's talk about the IMF package. What's the alternative? Pulling out of the IMF, right? You want to pull out of the IMF?
I'm not saying that we should pull out of the IMF. I'm just saying that Greece needs to make some difficult
wait a
decisions.
minute. Excuse me, Madam Congressman, but you came on with a complaint that American tax dollars were being used to help bail out Greece.
Yes.
And my question is, what's the alternative? That's the cost of belonging to the IMF and being an integral part of a global system.
I'm saying that that this is not a deal that American taxpayer dollars should support.
So we should pull. I mean, you have no alternative. If you're in the IMF, that's what's going to happen. So the only way to stop this is to pull out of the IMF.
The IMF doesn't have to participate in this bailout for the European Union.
The U.S. has a vote?
The U.S. does have a vote in the IMF, but it doesn't mean that the IMF has to participate in this bailout for the European Union. And that is what we are opposed to, is the IMF participation in the bailout for Greece.
Oh, okay. Now I have a clearer picture. But what if the Eurozone cannot afford to do it alone?
I I believe that Americans and states all across this country are having to make some very difficult decisions. We are following down the path of Greece. Greece its debt to GDP ratio right now is 113%, right? In the next 10 years, it's projected that America's debt to GDP ratio is going to be nearly 100%. In 10 years, we are spending more money than it is sustainable. There's not enough money in the world to cover the debts that we're accumulating, both as Americans and within the European Union.
Well,
and we need to get honest about prioritizing and making difficult decisions, and the government needs to stop spending beyond its means.
Well, you're a member of the Congress that's spending the money. You know, money can't be spent without congressional approval. So...
Well, I'm one of those. I'm a strong believer in a balanced budget amendment. I believe we seriously need some fiscal restraint in Congress. We, as a government, need to start imposing some policies that are going to force us to live within our means as a federal government, or we're going to be in a situation where we can't get the support we need for the debt that we're accumulating as a country.
All right, thank you very much, Congresswoman Rodgers. We appreciate how you're taking the time.
Okay, thank you.
It's an interesting